Hey, Ernie, the other night after the game, you said in the clubhouse, you called yourself the worst hitter in baseball a few years ago. What have been the adjustments? I'm looking at the metrics, and it's nothing obviously stands out. I know like your in-zone contact rate is up, but what has been the key to your last 2 years?
Yeah, I've just started to lean into my strengths a little bit, which is, putting the bat on the ball. I kind of tried to work the count a little bit and maybe try to draw some walks and hit for more power, and that's just, not really my game. So, over the last couple of years, I've learned to just, make it really hard on opposing pitchers with, my ability to get hits on pitchers' pitches, and, I've just really been more aggressive.
4 rows back on your left, guys. Annie?
Ernie, can you expand a little bit more on like what that was like mentally? Because I know a lot of players go through that, trying to figure out who they are and being able to find out who you are and really lean into that. What was that like?
Yeah, I've learned from all my failures, and I've had quite a few of those failures. So, it's difficult in the moment when you're not getting the results you want. But I stayed positive and stayed confident and just really trusted my ability and my love for the game.
3rd row on your right, guys. Tyler?
For either one or both of you guys, obviously it's really hard to hit now in baseball, but the Blue Jays had more hits than any other team. So what is it besides the talent? You guys obviously talented in the terms of the approach or that allows you to get so many hits in this era?
You want to go? You want me to go?
Go ahead.
I just think it's all 9 guys in the lineup trusting the guy behind him, and there's not one guy that's trying to do too much. Obviously, Vladdy's had a pretty darn good postseason, but it's been 1 through 9 and 1 through 13 on the position player side. So I think it's just trusting the guy behind you and not trying to do too much and keeping it really simple. And it's been a different guy every day, so it's cool to be a part of.
Addison?
I mean, you don't have to go up there and try to hit a home run every at-bat. It's, just try to get on base for the guy behind you.
Some of us.
Yeah. Well, he tries to hit a home run every time, but he swings harder than anybody. But, no, it's each guy just staying within themselves and us being a real team offense instead of just one guy hitting a home run every time.
Addison, anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, I would attribute a lot of our success to our hitting coaches too. We have a great staff behind us, and they have a really good idea of what each pitcher is going to do to us, and they give us a good plan and approach every at bat.
We'll go to our left with Brian.
You mentioned Vladdy having a really great postseason. What's it like for you guys to watch him behind the scenes and just see what goes into that every day?
Yeah, it's definitely fun to watch. It makes our job easy. We just got to get on base for him. But he's a special player, special talent, an awesome guy to be around. So, he's earned every bit of success that he's having. And, I couldn't be happier for him. Just really proud of the work he's put in. And to do it on the biggest stage is it's a testament to his work.
We'll go to Ben, to your left, guys.
Hey guys, question for both of you. In Toronto, obviously, it was a tougher time for the offense, and then in the last couple games, you guys have really gone off. Any way to explain that? Is it just baseball? Is there something that you guys see that's been different?
I think it's just the highs and lows of the game that we play. It's just weathering the storm, and sometimes balls aren't going to fall, and sometimes you're just going to get 15 hits in a game. So. It's finding different ways to win, and even when you don't have your best stuff, you still got to find a way to win. So, whether we have 15 hits or 2 hits, I think this team can win a baseball game either way. So, it's just about any given day, just trying to find a way to win.
Go to Alejandro up front.
Ernie, what has it been to you to play along with Andres Jimenez on defense on that side of the infield? What have you learned from him, and what has it meant for you guys these last couple of days, what he's done in this series?
Yeah, it's funny. He's been my favorite guy to watch on defense since I played against him in Double-A. He was playing in Binghamton. I was playing with Akron, and I watched him take ground balls at shortstop, and I was blown away with just how smooth it was. And the more I watched him play, I realized how good mentally he was with his internal clock is really special. And it's been so fun playing, alongside him now. I'm just blown away every day watching him play defense. It's special, and to me, he's just clearly the best defender in baseball. So it's been awesome.
Go to Lindsay in the third row on your left, guys.
Sorry, Addison, another one for Ernie. I know we're living in the moment and for today's game, but Ernie, I just want to rewind yesterday to the mound visit with Schneider and Max. Your facial reaction kind of went viral, smile. What was it like being a part of that moment and being around Max?
I've been kind of waiting for that all year. I've seen it on TV and just from watching baseball over the last 15 years or whatever. He's so fired up and wants to be out there and wants to kick your ass. So to be on that side of it, like I've been kind of waiting for that all season. So it was so fun to be a part of, and I couldn't help but laugh. It's just so funny because after he comes out, it's he kind of flips the switch and goes back to being that fun-loving jokester, and it's like he's got two personalities. It's hysterical. So I was really happy for him to get that job done.
Go to David on your right, guys.
For both of you guys, you play multiple positions. At what point is it just baseball instincts taking over, or what do you do to stay sharp at all your different positions? Addison, you can start.
Yeah, sure. I think it's just about preparing before the game. Obviously, if I know I'm at third base, I'll take reps at third, or if I'm in the outfield, I'll take reps in the outfield. It begins to get tough when I'm, spending a month or two at one position, and then you get thrown back out in the outfield, for example. But I would say a lot of it's baseball instinct and just kind of trusting the work you've done over the year, whether you're playing there consistently or not. But it's a little bit more work, but you just got to spend time in both positions.
Early on, when the bats weren't red hot, April and May, and you guys were kind of around 500, how important was the team defense to just kind of keep you guys afloat early in the season?
I think it goes back to us just trying to find different ways to win baseball games. You're not going to get 15 hits every game. You're not going to score 10 runs. So, preventing runs is huge. Great pitching has helped us all season. So, I just think you go day by day, and when the pitching's on, you just got to scratch one or two across, and when the bats are on, you can kind of lean into that. So it's just it's multidimensional.
Stay there with Tyler.
Ernie, Josh Naylor was saying last night he's a big fan of yours, and he didn't like having to bump into you last night. But what is it about Josh's game, that goes beyond kind of the numbers? Because it seems like there's a lot more to him than just the stat sheet.
Yeah, it's like getting hit with a freight train when he's coming in. But he plays the game so hard, and I like getting hit around a little bit. It reminds me of my hockey days. But he is such a special player. I learned so much watching him play, and to me he reminds me a lot of Vladdy. He's a guy with a ton of power, but he just is such a advanced hitter in his approach, and he has the 40 home run power, but he just goes up there and just he can hit a little single the other way or do some damage. So he's just so his approach is just so advanced, and he knows the game really, really well. He's got some of the best instincts I've ever seen on a baseball field, and a guy who's second percentile in speed has 30 stolen bases. That doesn't happen unless you know the game inside and out. And he's one of my favorite players in baseball. Not even just because I played with him and he's a great guy, but I just love the instincts he plays with.
Third row on your left, guys. Ben.
Hey guys, broadly, as you've gone through this playoff experience and played this deep into October, is it what you expected, or is anything about this experience surprised either one of you guys?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of how I expected it. I mean, definitely the crowd's more involved and more energetic, and you feel it on every pitch. And, that adrenaline for us just kind of takes over, even though it's game one, whatever for us. We're all beat up and tired, but the fans and their energy they bring every day kind of carries us through the games for sure.
Morning, John, or
Morning.
afternoon. When you look at managing the bullpen over a 7-game series, what are the things that you've kind of picked up on the longer series versus the 5-game, and kind of what's the state of the Jays bullpen right now?
Yeah, it's different for sure. I think based off of Game 3 and yesterday, had a chance to get a lot of guys in, save some leverage guys a little bit. Trying to, we still got some guys with some length too. When you got Chris and Eric down there as well, which is kind of the thinking when the series starts. So we're in a good spot. Everyone's available today, which is kind of where you want to land with the off day tomorrow. So starters play a big part, obviously, with Shane and Max doing what they did. So we're in a good spot, and you can kind of pick and choose.
And with Kevin and the split, how unique of a pitch is it? Well, you could talk about command, but obviously you want the thing to move as much as possible. So how does that look to you from the manager's chair?
It's I feel like the split is the pitch of the postseason. It seems like Kev's got a unique one. I think it can be almost like a changeup at times. It can be one that is more for swing and miss. The key is just carrying the zone. You know what I mean? If you have to keep it in the zone enough for it to be a weapon. So where guys can't just eliminate it for being a strike. So it's unique for sure. You never really know where it's going to go off the bat. We've kind of battled our positioning equation with Kev since he's been here. But you never really know where it's going to go off the bat. He can get a lot of weak contact, a lot of weird swings. So main thing is just kind of carrying the zone as much as you can with it.
The second row, Mike.
With Hoffman last night in the 8th, was that to get him against the top of the order?
He hadn't pitched in quite a while. I think just in that spot, yeah, score dependent a little bit if it had been a little bit different. But the initial plan was to have Louis go back out with his quick 7th inning and then kind of have Hoff behind him. But trying to vary up our looks with who sees who as best you can over a 7-game series. But at the end of the day, you want, as much as you can, you want your best guys versus their best guys, and they got to go out and execute.
And talking earlier about the Barger base running thing, you said that Carlos had a conversation with him, and when does that happen? Like right after that half inning, or is that a wait till after the game to talk about things?
Depends on the guy. Depends on the situation, really. That one kind of happened in real time, and thankfully it didn't come back to hurt us. It's base running is such a huge part of the game, and you look at the throw he made to get Naylor at third to kind of squash that inning. Picking off the runner at first, it changes momentum, and like anything, man, whether it's me or players, you got to learn from things and you got to get better from them. So every situation is a little bit different.
Go to Gregor in the third row.
John, Savage was probably a natural choice for you for Game 6. The last start was kind of one of the first times he's faced a bit of adversity at this level. What is it about him that kind of makes you think he's going to bounce back?
Kind of what he's done all year. We've asked a lot of him. I feel like his last 3 starts in the big leagues have been pretty big games, and he's responded well. So it's you kind of lose sight of the fact that he's 22, and you bring him up with 12 days left in the season, and you're not asking him to just get his feet wet. You're asking him to go win games. So he's stepped up to the challenge. I think that every time I've said this before, every time I've told him, hey, here's when you're pitching, the reaction is exactly what you want to hear. So confident that I think his outing too, with the 3-run homer in the first on a hanging split, I thought he threw the ball fine, to be honest with you. And I thought he made some good adjustments along the way. So you kind of couple those two things together, and it's a pretty easy choice.
And then the Santander news yesterday. I mean, he worked so hard to kind of get back to this point. How frustrating is that for him and for you guys that he had to go out like that?
Yeah, it's tough. I feel bad for him, right? First year of a 5-year deal, and, didn't go the way he wanted, the way we had hoped, all that kind of stuff. And give him all the credit in the world for fighting back the way he did to try to get back and help us. And just physically just didn't happen. So he was disappointed. We're disappointed. He understands that we're at the point where we can't play guys short, and it obviously affects the next round if you move on. But You got to do what's right for everyone, really, and ultimately what's right for Tony. And didn't really feel confident about putting him out there with how he was feeling.
A bit to your left, John. Mitch.
Ernie's been kind of a constant for you guys the whole season, but you look up and he's almost hitting 500 in the ALCS. Like, what, aside from the obvious, he makes consistent contact, what is he doing that's allowing him to be so successful right now?
I think he's got a lot of confidence, for one. And, this has kind of been a year where I think Ernie is not just shown himself, but he's shown the whole league that he's a damn good major league player. And, you get into these condensed series and everyone knows how aggressive he is at the plate. So how are you going to counteract that? It's laying off some pitches, but not trying to do anything you haven't done all year. He's taken good swings. I think when you get to this point too, like, contact is important against really good pitching. And I think he's kind of just putting a good approach with his skill set, which is making contact. So it's he's part of the heart and soul of this team.
And then Miller, in his first start, kind of his velo was a little higher than maybe you would have expected. The stuff was moving a little more. How, in your kind of pre-planning for a start, do you plan for like potential variations in a guy's stuff, it being maybe a little better than you would even expect?
Yeah, I think you plan for that or the other, and you kind of have to see what it's like. Again, I think it'll be interesting to see how he approaches our lineup. He definitely deviated a little bit and went to some secondary stuff, I think third time through the order against us, and you have to be aware of that, but you also have to take your normal approach against him, so he's again, man, they run out some power arms, starters and relievers. So I don't think our approach changes. I think you have to kind of be ready to pivot as the game unfolds.
Go back to John in the third row.
John, I was looking at the roster last night, and just the thought occurred to me that, wow, there's a lot of guys on the field for you right now that were not on this team when the season ended last year.
Yeah.
And I wonder, could you just speak to the evolution of some important signings, some trades? They were in the offseason, they were also in July, and just how this group all came together.
Yeah, it's such a interesting, cool group of characters, I think, looking back to last year, I think it was important for guys like Joey, like Addy, guys that aren't here now that contributed, this year to get some exposure to the big leagues last year and to learn, even Ernie, David Schneider, you put those guys in that category a little bit. That experience was really good for them. So you go into the offseason and you say, okay, how can we get better on paper? You sign Tony. The trade for him to me was huge. That happened early. And it just, I think we said, okay, we need to add baseball players. We're going to lean into contact. We're going to continue to lean into defense. So you do that. You sign Max, and it's cool. Like small pickups like Miles Straw too. Like, I know that goes under the radar, and it's around the time we're chasing, Sasaki, and what he's meant to this club has been huge. And I think once we kind of got rolling and understood the personality of this team, then it came down to, okay, who do we want to add, or what do we need to add? But I give a whole lot of credit to Ross and the group for targeting people too. Like, what's going to fit into our environment. A small ad like Ty France, being able to pick Izzy up on waivers. You look at it, it doesn't make a ton of sense, right, from a roster construction standpoint. You got Bo, you got Ernie, you got Hemi. So where does he fit? But at that point, just saying, okay, we want baseball players. And they've all been phenomenal. Louis Varland, Sir Anthony, just guys that kind of get it. You know what I mean? So to add to Vlad and George and Varsh and Kirky and Bo, it's been a really cool mix of people, not just players. And the guys really have taken to everyone that has come into the team.
Go to Mike in the second row.
It's back to the discussion about Ernie. I've heard a few of your players say that he's the best athlete on the team. He's a guy who got given up on by a couple of teams and has had to really fight. What's your idea of that assessment?
Well, if you watch him golf, you probably say he's the best athlete we have. Scratch golfer. He's helped me take some money off some guys' hands, and we're partnering together over the year. But He's an athlete, and I think it shows when he's playing defense for sure. When he's running the bases, when he's hitting, you can put him anywhere, on the field, and he'll figure it out. And I think that's very, very fair. He's got, he can play hockey, he can play golf, he can play basketball. I mean, he's very, very gifted. Even little things like the tag play at third. I think there's some third basemen that don't make a tag and get out of the way of that slide. You know what I mean? So he's got a very savvy way of controlling his body and putting himself in positions to just help. But he's always been that way. I think you're just kind of seeing a guy that is just kind of finding his own style at this level.
Go to Annie in the back, John.
With your offensive identity, it seems like the bottom of the lineup is really crucial to making things click. Has that been something that's evolved over the year with that buy-in from those guys, or has that been something from the start?
It's what we had hoped for, when you kind of roll out a lineup and you try to put guys in spots to help us score. They've been consistent as hell all year. You know what I mean? It's been so many guys, Himmy, Ernie, Tyler Heineman, Miles, Lukey's been down there. It's kind of cool that it's helped us the last 2 games, because it's been like that the whole year. And we talk a lot about 9-on-1, and how can everyone do their part to try to be the starter, and everyone's job is a little bit different, so not being afraid to bunt, work a walk, get a guy over, get the big hit. They've kind of leaned into it, and I think kind of our star players, or guys that are at the top of the order, I think that they really enjoy it too. So it's been like that for most of the year.
Other questions for Schneins? We'll finish up in the back left.
Yeah, Zick.
Good day, Schneids.
How are you, buddy?
I'm really good. Great to see you as always. I am curious to know about your decision-making process. You've got to make a million decisions a day. You have to also empower your staff and your players to do so, and your husband and father. You've got to make decisions at home with your family. How do you keep your mental toughness honed, and how do you impart that to your staff and your players?
Great question. And I think this doesn't get enough talk, because I think my job is to set a standard and to kind of set a tone in which other people can flourish. And I try to be as deliberately consistent as I can every single day, whether it's with things I do or things I say. That kind of gets pushed under the rug when you're just watching a baseball game. So I've kind of gotten to the point to where if I know that I'm deliberately consistent, my decisions will usually be deliberately consistent, and you make them and you move on from them, good or bad. As far as the coaching staff, I think that if they understand my expectations of them, they feel the freedom to work. And the coaching staff has been phenomenal this year in doing that. And I said it before Game 3, there's not a group I trust more to deliver a message. I want them to have freedom to do that. I feel like they do have freedom to do that. And you try to be as prepared as you can as a baseball guy, and then you kind of just read the room. And when you make a decision, it's just go, 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 and everyone has your back. So you have to be prepared. You have to trust people around you and put your best foot forward. But I think just being deliberately consistent with my actions and words has helped everyone kind of do the same.